Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're learning Maseches Sanhedrin Daf Ayin Ches. We're starting about 3/4 of the way down on Ayin Zayin Amid Beis, and we're starting with the words L'meimra Dechi Hai Gavna Kochahu. The first words on that line are Meinach Naichale. What we're discussing is whether or not in the game that they used to play, they would throw a very hard ball against the wall. So I threw east, and when it hit the wall, it bounced back west, and it killed someone. The Gemara said, "You're chayav." So asks the Gemara, "L'meimra Dechi Hai Gavna Kochahu." I can show you case scenarios where things that look like this are not kocho. After all, we have a brisa. This brisa can be found. It's actually a mishnah in Maseches Para. So we know that in regards to the din of para aduma, that if you take the ashes and you mix it just right, you can be metaher people. So the Gemara says, a mekadesh, someone who is doing kiddush, they're trying to make someone pure, and they have the afer of the para. V'nafal kiddush al yado o al hatzad ve'achar kach nofel lashokes pasal. So if the ashes fall on your hand or they fall on your side, and then only after that they fall onto the shokes, it's pasal. So what does that show you? That there was an interruption. It first touched me and then it went into the water. That's a problem. So fundamentally, when it comes to Afer, to the Afer Para Aduma, we have an idea that also has to be done in a way that is called kocho. But if the ashes fall on my hand and then they fall in the water, that's not called kocho anymore. Says the Gemara, it seems to be that if that's not considered to be kocho, and that was all in the same direction, but throwing a ball against the wall, I'm throwing east and then it bounces back west. So l'chor, that should not be kocho. Says the Gemara, hacha b'mayaskinan, in regards to the case of the Efer Para Aduma, what were we talking about? B'shoses, where there was like a little dribbling of the ashes. It was a very small amount, and you're right, that would not be considered to be kocho. But when you are physically throwing a ball against the wall, afal that it will be bouncing back in the other direction, that is considered to be um, kocho. Tashma, says the Gemara, wait 1 second. Machat, I have a needle that is tameh, and I need to make it tahor. Machat shayinusuna al hacheres. I have a piece of metal that's put on top of kli cheres. So says the Gemara, v'hiza aleha, and I sprinkled the Efer Para Aduma onto this, trying to get the needle to be tahor. Safek al hamachat hiza, safek al acheres hiza, but I'm not sure where the Efer Para Aduma landed. Did it land on the machat or did it land on the cheres? And it's a case of safek umitza aleha, and there it wasn't a dribbling of water; it was a throw of water. Amitza is a stronger language. It's not shoses; it's like kind of sprinkling the water. It says the Gemara. There we say safek ala cheres umitza aleha, and then the Gemara says haza also psula puzzle. So what does that show you? That even, okay, we understand shoses is not going to be considered kocho, but mitza, which is a strong reaction, is still considered puzzle, which means that that's also not kocho. So that means that, again, we're back to our question about throwing. So says the Gemara, you're asking a good question, but you got the brisa wrong. Amar Rav Chinana bar Yehuda mishmei derav. It doesn't say mitza. It doesn't say mitza that you threw it, just matzah, just that you found it there, in which case the question falls away. So now it seems like right now we have a distinction between shoses, between a very, very slow, small dribble, and that is not considered to be kocho. Masha Enkein, if one were to take a ball and throw it against the wall and it would bounce back, that would be considered problematic. That would be considered kocho, and you could be chayiv. And remember that we're all talking about the cases of rotzeach now, the various cases of how we would define murder. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Papa, Hai man dechavte lechavre. I tied my friend down, ba'ashkil alei bidka demaya, and then I removed something secondary. So my friend is sitting over here, and then I release the water from a dam, and the water kills him. So says the Gemara, Gire didehu umechayev. That's like me shooting an arrow, and you're chayev. But it's not always true. Hani mili bekoach rishon. That's only true if the first gush of water is what ended up killing the person. Aval bekoach sheni grama be'almahu. But if what killed him is not the first rush of water, but let's say the water was on a slope, right? So the water rushes in one direction and doesn't kill him, but on the way back, the water kills him. That's grama be'alma. That's not considered retzach. Again, like we said, you're not winning any awards, but at the end of the day, you are not chayiv misa. Ba'amar Rav Papa, and this was a question that Rabbi Yitzhak asked yesterday. Zarak tzuror lemala, v'halcha l'tzadin v'harga chayv. Let's say that I take a rock and I throw it up as high as I can. And it doesn't come straight down toward me. It moves off to the side a little bit, 100 feet, a couple of feet, whatever. It kills someone. So the halacha is your chayv. People who shoot bullets up in the air and they land. L'chora, it would be the same exact idea. It says the Gemara, I don't understand the Metzias. How do we define kocho? Which direction did I throw? Up. So how could you say that when gravity is what pulls it down, that's not my koach. My koach was the upward motion. My koach is not the downward motion. In fact, when I throw things, sometimes when you're a little kid, you like throw pop-up to your kids. We had that with my dad as a little kid. The goal is to throw it as high as you can. You're playing against gravity. There's another force at play. So here, what do we have? We have someone who threw it up as high as they could, and then it came down, and we said you're chayav. So what is that called? That's kocho, right? That means if I'm throwing up, I'm throwing the ball up in the air. We still call the downward motion forced by the force of gravity to still be my koach. The Gemara has a problem with that. The Gemara says, Amar le mar barabashi l'rapapa, my taima, mishum de kochohu. You want to say that when I throw a ball upwards, and then it comes downwards and kills somebody that I'm chayav, I kocho, if you want to focus on my koach, teza la'el, it should go higher. Which way was I throwing? Up. So don't hold me accountable for the down. And the ilav kochu.
It wouldn't come down if you hadn't done that.
But I didn't throw that way.
You didn't throw it down, but it wouldn't gain the velocity or the power to create the nevek to kill somebody.
What the Gemara is saying is that if I throw a ball 50 feet in the air, when it hits 50, my koach is done. After that, nature. That's not my problem. It's not my doing. It's also not my problem. I'm not chayiv in that case. Well, I should say we're in the questioning, but the Gemara says you're chayiv. So we're questioning right now what this means. So in the questioning phase, we're like, how does this work? I threw the ball up and then it came down and I killed someone. So the Gemara says on the one side, if you want to say that that's my koach, well, my koach was upward. I wanted to go to the moon. Forget about coming down. I wanted out of my stratosphere. Goodbye. So then the Havamina of the Gemara is that when it hits the 50 foot, I threw it as high as I could, 50 feet top, all of a sudden it's not my koach anymore because my goal was throwing up, not throwing down. And on the flip side, the ilav koachu, if you want to say that it's not koach, then teza l'sachas, it makes no difference if you moved it off to the side, which was our case, that it went to the side, or if it went directly underneath you. This is what Rashi points out. Ilav kocho teza l'tachas tipol miyad connected lo l'tzadim. Oh, if my koach is downward, then anything upward motion, it should not be my koach. Then who cares if it's off to the side or me? So the Gemara says you're absolutely right. And of course, like Tex is pointing out, it's a difficult bifurcation to say that I threw the ball up in the air, the rock, the arrow, the bullet, I shot it. So I take my gun, I shoot it straight up in the air. The bullet goes up, 500 feet. I have no idea how high a bullet would go up your shot. Would it? How far? I guess it depends on the grams. And... Up?
You're fighting gravity.
You're fighting gravity. Yeah.
Even depends on the initial velocity and a few other things.
This is a great chat GPT question, which I will be doing shortly, but not during Daf Yomi. All right. Let's not try it. Let's just research it.
And so, you say how high you say 500 feet?
Well, I have no idea. I have no idea.
I was impressed that you could throw a ball 50 feet in the air.
Yeah.
I don't think I can anymore. Not after my recent shoulder injury. I'm not.
No, actually, it's a perfect thing.
A golf ball I could. Come on.
Throwing like a baseball 50 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Not 50 feet
No.
straight, but 50 feet in the
Yeah, I
air.
could still do that. You can't do that?
Used to.
Oh, you have rotator cuff issues. Yeah. No, I still could. I play a good left field right now in the Ortoro Softball League.
Throwing straight up, not throwing 50 feet. That I mean, if I can't, but in theory, I could.
You can throw 50 feet, David. You're selling yourself short. I know
I feel like one here.
you're wearing your feelings on your sleeves. What?
It's taller than probably
50 feet is one. It's
nothing.
It's 1.5.
It's underhand.
Listen, Gerald, it's two 30-foot houses. Okay, you can throw a ball two houses. Okay, that's 60 feet. There we go. Now you should feel more chashuv again.
fighting gravity.
You are fighting
That's
gravity.
right.
You're just fighting it less when you throw laterally than vertically.
But the perfect example for this is not even that, it's me.
It's what?
Like,
Oh,
like I said, if something comes down, is it my,
so let's see the answer. Let's see what the Gemara paskins. We already know the answer. We know that we're chayev. The question is, if I'm throwing the ball upward, why would I be chayev for the downward motion? And the Gemara responds with its final psak on the top line of Ayin Ches Amud Aleph, Ela koach kochushu. It's still your koach. Okay, it's not exactly what you intended, but it's koach kochushu. And you can imagine that the Rishonim would have a heyday with this language of koach kochush. Yeah, it's just not so. So that's what Rashi says over here. Eino kocho chazak, ela ktsas kocho. Okay, fine. Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis teach us more cases of murder. Second line down, Ayin Ches Amud Aleph. Hikuhu asara b'nei adam ba'asara maklos v'meis. There's 10 guys, one victim. Guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each of them walks by the guy, punches him in the face. Boom, boom. Guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So bein b'vasachas, if all 10 hit him at once and he dies, bein b'zeh achar zeh, or if they hit him in sequence. Either way, they're all putter. We assume, according to the Shita, that each of them played a minimal role, but not a complete role. No one of them could have caused death with the hit that they did. So he says you're putter. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira argues, Omer, he says, he says, I agree, if everybody's hitting at the same time, you got 10 guys kicking someone on the ground and he dies, all 10 are going to be putter. By the way, not in American law. In American law, l'chora, they would be put in jail for murder. Everybody would be equally a murder. By the way, we have it even further. You got the getaway driver. We threw him in also for a good measure. But when we talk about, with academic and halachic integrity, when we talk about what murder is, you're not chayiv if 10 people were complicit in the murder. But Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira disagrees. Omer, he says, you're right. He was 90% dead, and the Rishonim right, he would have died even without you hitting him. But he would have died in 5 minutes, and your last hit made him die in 1. Halacha is, you're chayiv. Machlokes tanoim. Let us understand why each of them hold this way. Amar Rav Yochanan, Mishnai Mikra Echad Darshu. This pasuk is in Vayikra Chav Dalet. V'ish asher yakeh kol nefesh adam, mos yumas. So if there's a man who is yakeh, he hits any nefesh of this. So what's this weird language of kol nefesh adam? Rabbanan savrei kol nefesh adika kol nefesh. You're not gonna, until you're the one cause, the singular cause of a murder, you're gonna always be patur for murder. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira savar kol nefesh kol dehu nefesh. Any part of the nefesh that you hastened toward its death, you are held accountable. Okay, let's get into some lumdus. Amar Rava, hakol modim, everyone agrees. Behoreges atrefa, if there is a person who had tremendous injuries, massive injuries that make them a trefa, something pierced their brain, something, I don't know what they say, someone cut the windpipe in the esophagus and they survived a little bit, they're still alive. So everyone agrees that if I kill someone who's a trefa shu pater, that's an unbelievable, he's assumed to be dead. Begoses bidei shamayim, if a person was on his deathbed, but he didn't get an injury, just HaKadosh Baruch Hu took him to his end of life, he's 120 years old, 119 and 350 some odd days, he's really not doing well, but he's a goses bidei shamayim. He's a goses in that, a goses is someone who's about to die, but he doesn't have any injuries. So there, shehu chayev. Everyone agrees. Lo nechleku. What is this machlokes tanoim between the Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira? El begoses bidei adam. Someone who's about to die because someone hurt him. He's not actually a treifa. He doesn't have the injuries of a treifa, but he is going to die, and it was done by a person. Mar midami leila treifa. According to one shita, he compares that person to a treifa, and a treifa who you kill, as we said, is pater, because a treifa is going to die anyways. Umar, this is Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, midami leila goses bidei shamayim, where you are going to be chayiv. You can't hasten the death of another person. According to the Tanakama, who says this person's a treifa, my time goses bidei shamayim. Why would you say that our case is not similar to the goses bidei shamayim? Because goses bidei shamayim lo isavi b'maisa. That person is sick. They have cancer. They have kidney failure. That's bidei shamayim, and nobody did anything to that person. But in our case, 10 people hit him. Isavid b'maisa. What about the other shita? According to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, says that we're comparing this person to a goses bidei shamayim. And any hastening of the death will be considered ratzach. My time the treifa. Why then would he not hold like the other sheet, the person to treifa? So it says treifa machat simanim. In order to be a treifa, those are very rigid definitions. You have to have some of the simanim that are cut. Yeah, it's the real deal, real injuries. But the case that we were presented with was lo machat siman. So that's why we have this machlokas. We're actually going to bring a raya right now for the shita of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Let's just remember his shita 4 lines down. He says, let's see this quoted in a brisa. Tani Tana Kamed Rosheshes. The pasuk says, like you just saw, V'ish ki yake kol nefesh adam lahavi hamakes chavero. This is coming to tell us that if there's a man who hits his friend, ve'ein bo kedei lahamis, and he doesn't have such a good punch, he couldn't kill someone with one punch. And then uva'acher, a second guy showed up, vehemiso, shehu chayev. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Ein bo kedei lahamis pshita. If the first guy didn't hit him hard enough to kill him, pashit, he's not going to be chayev. Says the Gemara, this is Rabbi ben Beseira, ready? Ella, no. If the first guy punches him, yesh bo kedei lahamis. I hit him hard enough, and he's going to die in 60 minutes. My punch will kill him within 60 minutes. But during those 60 minutes, oh, so that sounds v'stama ki Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. They agree that you're right. If I'm the 10th guy in the of the gang, the first 9 guys punch the guy in the throat, and I'm the 10th guy, he's going to die without me. But I hit him anyways. So then I'm chayiv misa. I'm going to be chayiv misa for killing him. All right, let's get into more of the dinim of a treifa. Amar Rava hahore gets a treifa pater. We had already said earlier that if a man kills a treifa, which is a person who is about to die, that he is pater. What about the flip? The treifa shaharak. The treifa, the guy who's ill and injured, right? He kills the nurse who's taking care of him, a perfectly healthy nurse, right? Just kills the person. The treifa shaharak, it depends. Bifnei bezdin, and this I've never heard this distinction. If the murder that the treifa did to a non-treifa was in front of Bezdin, they have to respond chayev. Then they'll kill the treifa. But shelo bifnei Bezdin pater. But if a treifa kills the nurse, then he's pater. Now the treifa is the one who's on the deathbed. The nurse is a very functional human being with no illnesses. The treifa kills the nurse, he's pater. Why? So let's get into the svars. If he did so bifnei bezdin, he would be chayev because dechsivu v'artahara mikir becha. If it happens in mikir becha, if it happens in front of the bezdin has to respond, even though under other circumstances they wouldn't have needed to do that. But shelo bifnei bezdin pater. Why is it that if a treifa, a man that's about to die, kills a completely innocent, healthy person, why would the man who's a treifa, the murderer, be pater? Because it's very technical. Because the edus is edus that where there can be no hazama. Lo shma edus. Why are they saying it's edus shi'ata yachol hazima? Because if somebody saw the edim, we don't kill the treifa. He's going to die on his own. We don't kill him. So therefore, the edim zomamin can't get misa, which means it's edus shi'ata yachol hazima. We can't execute the Edim Zomamin with the punishment they tried to effect because the treifa would never be killed for it. And therefore, he's off on a technicality because Kol Edus Shi'ata Yachol Azima Lo Shma Edus. Says the Gemara 2/3 of the way down on Ayin Ches Amud Aleph, 2 lines before the white lines, V'amar Rava, Haroveya Esat Treifa Chayev. If a healthy man sodomizes a treifa, he would be chayev. Treifa sherava, if the man who was unhealthy was the one doing the revia, same as before. Bifnei bezdin chayev, shelo bifnei bezdin pater. If the treifa was doing this act of sodomy, he did it publicly in front of bezdin. Bezdin has to respond; they have to punish him. But shelo bifnei bezdin, if he does this act in privacy and nobody else saw except for edim, afal pikein, even if there were edim, he's pater. Bifnei bezdin chayev dechsivu v'yarta ra mikir becha. Now the Gemara is bothered. You basically taught me the same exact case. We said that if a treifa kills a person, a treifa is an unhealthy person, right? If the treifa kills a person, he is pater because it's eidur shi'ata cholazima. Then you said the same exact din by a treifa who was rovea, a healthy person. You also said he's pater because it's eidur shi'ata cholazima. So it says the Gemara hosulamali, second of the wide lines. I don't need 2 cases. Hainu hach. You taught me the same exact din. I got it. A treifa his behavior is iyata echol azima, because we're not going to give him the same punishments that we would give a healthy person. So therefore, the Eidim Zomamin can't get the typical punishment, which means that it's edus iyata echol azima, which means that he's patur. I got it. Why say it twice? Why say it by a treifa sheharag, and why say it by a treifa sherava? So says the Gemara Chiddush. We needed to make sure that we understood the case of Rovea es HaTrefa. Mahu detema. I might have thought that since the Trefa is Kimes, therefore, when the Rovea sodomizes a Trefa, it's Lehave Keman de Meshamesh Meis Vili Pater. Then perhaps, although he is alive biologically, but halachically the Trefa is dead. So if the Rovea is with the Trefa, I might have thought that since the Trefa is a mace, Trefa is Kemes, so the Rovea is pater from Revia. That's what the Gemara says. Kamash Malan de Mishum Hanahu. No. The reason why the Rovea will be held accountable is because there still is Hana, in that the Trefa is still a warm body. Halachically, he might be dead, but the Hana of Tashmish Hamita with a human that's alive is not the same Hana of a Tashmish Hamita with a person who's not alive. So, Kamash Malan de Mishum Hana, that the Isser of Revia is not looking at whether or not the treif is kemes. It's looking at the hana, and therefore v'ha islei hana. Here there is hana by the revia, and therefore that was the chiddush of the Gemara to teach us that rovei esa treif is going to be chayav. Avamina that the treif is kemes, he should be pater because he was rovei ames. No.
Why is it? It's because if the Edom
We're huzam. If they became Edom Zomamin, we wouldn't kill them. Because the treifa can't be killed.
But that's the whole reason.
Because he's a mace.
The treifa can't be killed. The tautology.
You're saying it's a cyclical logic?
Yeah, but you can't kill them because if they try to kill him, he can't be killed.
It's not the same thing because they're trying to kill a dead man. And
Meaning, you're saying even if they did kill him, it's not really killing him because
it's not the same.
He's a mace.
What you would do to the Edom Zoman is not.
I heard what you were asking. The question didn't bother me. I was trying to figure out why the question didn't bother me. But it's apples and oranges. So, okay. Yeah.
They're trying to kill a dead man, and the Edom Zoman would be killed. They're live people, so it's not the same thing.
So it's more like even if
It's
otherwise it's circular.
even if we did kill him based on their Eidos, it's not the same type of death because
He's a mace. He's treifa kemes.
So, okay.
But the Edom Zomamin could not possibly get that punishment. It's kasher zomam. They wanted to kill the treifa. No. You can't meet that out because that guy is not able to be killed. Which means that if the Edom Zomamin were huzam by a second kas of Edom, Imanu Hayisem, Reuven and Shimon, you guys were the Edom for the treifa, and they became Edom Zomamin, we couldn't kill them. And because we can't give them the punishment they wanted to meet out, because it was impossible to give out the punishment they wanted to meet out, there are no Edom Zomamin. And Eidos Shi'at Echol Azim is not Eidos.
Why don't we just say we don't kill him because it's like he's already dead?
That's sort of what Rashi said.
No, but the principle is broader.
If they
Yeah.
Edom Zoman a narrative, why did Gavra Katila bowl all they're trying to do is kill a dead man. That's not anything.
Correct, but we have to remember the reason why we weren't so narrow in the Gemara is because this principle of Eidos Shi'at Echol Azim is a Shas concept. It applies to every Eidos.
Mm-hmm.
If Eidos is not able to become Huzam, it's not Eidos.
Right, and it can't become Huzam because what is it that they're trying to do? Trying to kill a dead
They're
man.
killing a doorpost. Halachically. Afal that by Revia, we say that there's a warm
Which
body
is
there.
super interesting.
It's because that's why that was exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the chiddush of the Gemara. There's a chiddush that we might have thought, oh, you just said above that it's treifas kemes,
Yeah.
treifas kemes, but over here we're saying that because the Revia, there's still a hana, like the maisa is still a normal maisa, right? It's still a normal maisa as it relates to the hana of tashmish amita. So therefore, you're still going to be chayv and
I'm
Revia.
not sure why it's not.
What edus? We're talking about the maisa of Revia. The maisa.
But how is it that you could ever execute him? That you can only execute him with Edom and Hasra, right?
He was the Rovea. He was the Rovea. The Treifa was the Nirva, but the Rovea was the guy who was Edis. It's on him. Right. Okay, so that's why we had both of those cases. Even though they both say Ata Echol Azima, but there's a chiddush by the Rovea that you might have thought Havamina that if he's Rovea, a Treifa is Kemes, and therefore the Revia was not really Revia and he's Potter. Kamash Malan that the parameters of Revia are based on Hana, And if there's a body that has that is not dead, right? Even though halachically it's dead, but the ikaron, the isra of Revi is the hana of two warm bodies. So therefore that case is different. Rava taught us, we're 3/4 of the way down. Edim shehidu betreifa v'huzmu ein nehergen. Edim that gave testimony about a treifa and they became huzam, as we pointed out, ein nehergen. Ede treifa shehuzmu nehergen. But if the Edim themselves were treifas, they can get killed. Okay, now let's see. Got a hold cup here. You got a guy. He's a murderer. He's healthy. He's not a treifa. Let's call him a goyish name. Pick a name. I don't know. Let's just go with Sprinza. What? Joe? Okay, whatever. Joe, how about that? John Smith, John Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed is a murderer. And two guys who were watching from the old age home, they watched. They're both treifas in the old age, but they watched the guy kill. Or they thought they watched the guy kill. They give Eidos in Bezdin. We saw Johnny Appleseed kill. And then someone says, you were playing bingo with me on the other side of the building. Imanu Hayisem. We killed the two treifa Eidim. Why? Because that's not Eidim Sha'iyata Cholazima. What did they want to meet out to Johnny Appleseed? Death. And it would have worked if they were right. Their Eidos works as a treifa. They can still give Eidos as a treifa. So they give Eidos about Johnny Appleseed, that Johnny Appleseed's a murderer. Had they been right, Johnny Appleseed would have been killed. The problem is that the two old guys sitting on the east side of the window were not by the east side of the window. They were on the west side of the window in Park Plaza, and they were playing bingo, and there were a bunch of Eidim. Eidim Zimmerman, they killed the first two Eidim who supposedly sat on the east side. Why? Because what did you want to do? You wanted to kill Johnny Appleseed, but you lied. We caught you. You were on the other side of the building, and they get killed. Okay, so they're treifas, but they get killed because we're meeting out Hazama. Rav Ashi takes a spin. Rav Ashi Amar, no. Afilu ede trefa shuz mein hergen. Lefi she'enon bezomime zomime. Because if you go deeper down the line in Eidim Zomamin, then these people cannot be killed. This is a shtickle chiddush. That means that the Eidim Zomamin are pair 1. Another kas of Eidim is pair 2. And then if the Eidim of pair 2 who ruined pair 1 become huzam with pair 3, so then for some reason Rav Ashi says you still can't kill, now you can't kill the Eidim because they're treifas. And then it becomes Eidu Shi'ata Echol Azima. Okay, that's a chiddush within Rav Ashi. Next. The Omar Rava, shor treifa sheharag chayiv. A shor that is a treifa that killed is chayiv. We will kill that shor. The shor shel adam treifa sheharag. If the owner of the shor was a treifa, if there's a Johnny Appleseed was a treifa and he owned a shor and he was a yid and his animal killed, he's putter. My time, why would he be putter? So says the Gemara, because there's a link in the psukim, a hekesh. Amar kra hashor yisakel v'gam be'alav yumas. The pasuk says that the shor will get stoned and his master will be killed as well. We know halacha l'maisa that he has to pay money with this pasuk of v'gam be'alav yumas. We don't kill the master of the shor when his shor kills. However, look at the drasha. Kol hecha de karina v'gam be'alav yumas. Had it been that we were in a scenario that if the guy himself did the action, he would have been killed, then karinan behashor yisakel. But because he's a treifa, by him we would never have said that he gets killed for an act that he does, because he's a bar k'tilahu. So therefore the Gemara says, so again, Johnny Appleseed the Jew owns a shor and it kills someone, but Johnny Appleseed is a treifa, he's patur. Rav Ashi flips it again. Rav Ashi Amar shor treifa nami shaharag patur. Even the shor himself, if the shor itself was a treifa, he'd be patur. My taima kevan de ilu bailim havu ptiri. Since had they not been an animal but been a human, they would have been patur. Shor nami patur. This is again a very unique svar. All right, next little sugya before the Mishnah says the Gemara shisa boas hakelev. If you sick a dog on someone or put a snake on them, we saw there was a machlokas about this. Amar Ravacha bar Yaakov Kshatim Salomar. When you analyze the sugya, Liv Rabbi Yehuda Eres Nachash Bein Shinavu Omed. He holds that when you press the fangs of a snake into someone's arm, it's automatic that the venom will be injected into the body. Lefichach makish b'sayiv. v'nachash pater, right? So if he does this, then he would. I think the word besayev should not be there. Yeah. What did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah said, "Hishich boes hanachash." So in that case, he would be pater. That is the shita Rabbi Yehuda. L'divrei chachamim, they hold differently. That eres nachash me'atzmahu meki. He holds that the snake has to do something extra for the venom to come out. It's not automatic. It's a two-step process, not one. And because the snake has to then make a decision, will I be adding venom to this bite or not? V'vichach nachash b'skila. That the nachash will get killed with skila. V'hamakish pater. And the person who placed the snake on the arm of that person would be pater. Okay. Next Mishnah, 3 lines from the bottom on Ayin Ches Meral. A man kills his friend with a stone or with a fist, and they assessed him that at that time he would die. Now, after that, then he recovered a little bit, got out of the hospital. And then all of a sudden his illness came back and he died. Chayev. That's a little bit odd. So again, I punched him really hard. He was in the hospital for a week. Then he came out of the hospital. He was better. And then 5 days later, he drops dead. Diagnosis, I killed him, which means that they'd say, I'm chayiv. Reb Nechemya Omer Pater, Sheraglayim L'davar. He's Pater because of Raglayim L'davar. What are Raglayim L'davar? Take a look at the last Rashi on the page. Sheraglayim L'davar, Shalom Meis Machmas Makezu Sharei Hekel. Pashat that he didn't die from this. The guy got out of the hospital already. All right, we know more science now. We could say he damaged an organ, a lot of things we could say. Okay. That's Reb Nechemya. The Gemara opens Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis teach us a drasha. It's Zu Darash Reb Nechemya. Reb Nechemya, what was Reb Nechemya's shita? He's the last shita in the Mishnah. That pater sheraglayim l'davar. That if a person improves and then dies, then you are no longer the murderer, even though you punched him a week ago. So what is the drasha? Im yakum v'salech b'chutz al mishanto v'nikahamakeh. So this is a famous passage that we all know. So it says the Gemara, if he heals, v'chitale al datcha shezeh mehalach b'shuk v'zeh nerak. The guy is fine. He died from something else. He didn't die from me. I punched him on a Monday. He was out of the hospital on a Wednesday, and he died on Saturday. So that's not my fault. Ella lemisa. No, he actually had an assessment about him that he would die. No, in that case, he says you're going to be pater. That makes no sense. The guy healed. Pashat that you're going to be pater. Ay v'rabanan. Ay v'niko hamake my darshibe. So it says the Gemara. The rest of that pasuk is rak shivto yitain v'rapo yirapeh. You only have to pay cash. You don't have to get killed for that. So we understand how the pasuk of v'nika hamakeh plays out according to Reb Nechemya, because Reb Nechemya in the Mishnah holds that you're pater. Again, I punched him on Monday. He's in the hospital till Wednesday. He's feeling better Thursday, Friday, dies Saturday. V'nika hamakeh rak shivto yitain v'rapo yirapeh. Should just pay my fees. I have a Rabbanan who say otherwise. The Rabbanan held that you're chayiv in such a case. So what do they do with the pasuk? Says the Gemara, Malamed shechov shenoso. We don't know what to do. We put the guy into prison. We keep him in jail. That's what we do with v'chovshin. Says the Gemara, Reb Nechemya, who says who learns the pasuk differently. Chavisha minale. He says yalef mi mekoshesh. In the times of the Torah, second Shabbos that the Jews ever had, some not so firm guy went outside and was Mekoshesh Eitzim on Shabbos, Parshas Shlach. And that's one of the rare scenarios where we see a specific malacha in the Torah. And he gathered up all the sticks. So it says the Gemara, the Reb Nechemya says that we'll keep this guy in jail. How do we know? That is from Mekoshesh. Why don't the rabbis learn from there? Why do they need the pasuk of Anika Amakeh? Says the Gemara, because the Mekoshesh was a bar Ktalahu. Everyone knew, Moshe knew, that the guy who was Mekoshesh Eitzim was killed. He just didn't know which capital punishment to meet out on Hilchos Shabbos. And Moshe lo hava yada katle b'mai. He didn't know how to kill him. So the Rabbanan couldn't learn from Mekoshesh. La'afuke hai, but in our case, we know exactly what's going on. We know nothing. In our case, we don't know if he's a bar Ktalah. That's why we put him in prison. Reb Nechemya yalef mi megadev. Why doesn't Reb Nechemya learn out from a megadev? To lo hava yada ibar Ktalahu v'chavshu. By megadev in the Torah, when someone was megadev, we didn't know what to do with him. So it says So says the Gemara, V'Rabbanan, what would they say? Megadif or Rosh Shahisa. The Megadif was a very unique scenario. How do we know? Kedetanya, we have a brayso from Baba Basra. Yodea Haya Moshe Rabbeinu Shem Mekoshesh B'Misa. He knew exactly what was going on with the Mekoshesh. And Amar Mechalala Mosimas. Elo Haya Yodea Be'ezem Misa Nerag. We didn't know how the person was going to be killed. No idea. Shneimar ki lo porash. It was not expressed to Moshe as to how he would be killed. Aval Megadif lo ne'amar bo elo lefarish lahem al pi Hashem. There, that's a little bit different. That the pasuk says in Vayikra expressly, "Vayanichuhu b'mishmar lifrosh lahem al pi Hashem." He mamish didn't know what to do. There's no comparison between the case of Mekoshesh and the case of Megadev. So he says, "Shlohei Moshe yodeim hu ben misa kol ikarim lav." So now the Gemara is going to try and analyze the two shitas of our Mishnah. We'll stop at the Mishnah 3 lines from the bottom. Bishlam alamanda amar, Bishlam al Reb Nechemya, says the Gemara. I understand the sheet of Reb Nechemya, who says that you're pater. That's why the Torah speaks about an umdana twice, 2 different psukim. In one case, the person had an amida. We assessed that he would die and he lived, so then you'd be pater. And another time we said that he was omei lemisa and he survived. Rabbanan, I understand why according to Reb Nechemia we need both. But according to the Rabbanan, trei umdanei lamali. Why do I need both? So says the Gemara, 2/3 of the way down, 3 lines before the white lines. Chadim du lemisa v'chaya. One was an assessment that he was supposed to die and he survived. V'chadim du l'chayim v'meis. And the other was where the assessment was the opposite, and then he died. I have Reb Nechemia du l'chayim v'meis lo tzarich kra. According to Reb Nechemia, he says the amida, the assessment that the person should live and then he died, doesn't need a pasuk. Shar yatzmi based in zakah. He came out okay. The guy's walking. There was the pasuk Al Mishan Tov, and Ikamake is walking around. So that's why Rabbi Nechemia holds that he's pater. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught us first of the long lines. Hamakes chaver v'imdu l'misa v'chaya potrin also. If I punch my friend in the face or in the throat, I hit him hard, v'imdu l'misa, and they assess him and they think he's going to die v'chaya, and then he ends up living potrin also. I would be pater from misa because the guy tried to kill survived. Imdu l'misa v'hakel mimashaya. Let's say that there was an assessment that he would die, and his problems got a little bit less. So, omdin oso omed sheni l'mammon. Then we have to do another assessment based on mammonis. V'im la'achar ken hichbid v'meis. And if after that assessment of how much money I owed him, he then died. So then says the Gemara, halach achar omed hoim tzaiti Reb Nechemia. Reb Nechemia is like, what do you want me to do? The guy lived. You can't hold me accountable forever. I mean, I don't know how this works, but let's say I punch someone hard enough and they're in a coma for 10 years. So if they're status quo the whole time, that's hard to answer. Where does that fit? We don't know. We don't know. It's very unclear from our Gemara. Against Reb Nechemia, ein omed achar omed, which is different than the previous sheet of the Chachamim. But here, we're not going to get into the differences, no time. But the Gemara says that this sheet of the Chachamim says we don't do 2 amidas. There's not one amida after the other. You're going to be chayav because you started the whole problem. Tanya idach, another brisa. Imdu lemisa, when we assess someone for death, omden oso lechayim, lechayin aim omden oso lemisa. If a person was initially assessed that he could die, so you can change that assessment to life. If someone was assessed that he could live, ain omden oso lemisa. You can't flip it. If the guy has good health, you can't look at someone who's healthy and say, I think he's going to die. That makes no sense. If, like the brisa we saw before, if a person was initially assessed that he would die, and this is again very similar brisa. And if the guy survived, we had assessed how much money he should make, and then he has to pay. And then even if the guy dies, I'm still not chayav misa. I just pay the yorshim. Says the Gemara, what is the time of which I need to pay? Says the Gemara, Misha Sheiko, Vistama, Kareb Nechemia. And the Gemara concludes like Reb Nechemia. So let's review the Mishnah and this last Amud. It was pretty rapid, but the discussion that we have over here in the Mishnah at the bottom of Ayin Ches Amud Aleph is where I punched someone so hard that they could potentially die. They're in the hospital for a while and they heal. And then they die a couple days later. So let's just kind of use like a chart form. Healthy, healthy, healthy. Punch him in the face, dipping down toward death, close to death. Then he gets a little bit better and he's walking around. That's what the pasuk says. That's what the pasuk says. Im yakum b'salech b'chutz al mishan tov b'nikah. He starts to get better and then he dies. Pater. That's what Rav Nechemia says. The Chachamim say you'd be chayiv in such a case, and the Gemara seems to go like Rav Nechemia, which is Odd, because Yachid v'Rab Malacha Karabim, but that's what the Gemara said. Tomorrow night, Emir Hashem will learn a blot and a half and pick up at the Mishnah at the bottom of Ayin Chesem Beis. Wishing you all a beautiful night.